Welcome to Monday Mornings with Michelle, the new business podcast. Whether you're kicking off your day or kickstarting your business, Michelle is going to kick your ass into next week with the essential fours: strategy, systems, support, and state of mind. Now, welcome to center stage, Michelle Nedelec.
Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I'm super glad that you're here with us today because I'm here with my most amazing guest, Jonah. Jonah, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Lovely to be with be with you here. I'm already stumbling over my words, and it's only
awesome. It's a good
11 o'clock in the morning.
Awesome. So give us a 5,000-foot view of who you are and what you're up to lately.
Yeah, well, who I am, that's a complicated question. Sometimes I ask myself that and I can't find the answer, but professionally, what I do is I help mostly men, entrepreneurs, become more influential, double their productivity, and get rid of the things that are holding them back. So essentially, I'm a coach. Now, am I a business coach? Am I a life coach? I call myself an executive coach because that's primarily who I work with. I work with entrepreneurs. I also work with executives from tech companies here in the Bay Area, where I'm currently sitting and talking to you from. And, I got into this just very accidentally and in a very roundabout way. But nonetheless, this is where I find myself. And it's very gratifying to watch people develop and change and evolve into the things that they want.
Nice. So how did you get into all of this?
So I've been an entrepreneur since I was probably about 7 years old, and I would have my mom drive me up to Payless, and we would buy NFL football pencils, and I'd buy a pack of NFL football pencils for a couple bucks, and I'd bring them back to my class, and I'd sell them for a quarter each to all my classmates. I think I sold the Cowboys ones for a little bit more money, and and so I started. That was really what piqued my interest in business. From there, I did a bunch of different little entrepreneurial things, and I started an e-commerce company in 1999. So I was very early in that realm, and I was one of the first people to sell skateboards and surfboards on the internet.
Nice.
So I grew that business and sold it in 2005, a little bit early. And I have a funny story about how I almost became a billionaire, but missed that one.
Oh,
well, very, very, very far off. But funny enough, so I sold the company, but I was not happy. I was completely burned out. I really just was quite depressed, actually. So even though on the outside there was all this success and people looked at me and said, "Oh my God, you're a young guy, you just sold a company, you can do anything you want," I wasn't happy. And I didn't really know why. So I took a couple years off and dove deep into meditation. Went to Asia, did several month-long meditation retreats, and while I was in China, I got inspired by acupuncture, and it really felt like magic to me. And so when I got back to the US, I thought to myself, that's what I want to do. I want to help people. I want to help people. And at that point, I had started to become re-energized, become refreshed, and really escape the symptoms of burnout. And so I became an acupuncturist, and I did that for almost a decade. And what ended up happening is that because I was in San Francisco at the time, I was getting so many clients who were tech people that we inevitably started talking about business and more business and more business. And then one day a client came in and said, "Jonah, I really love getting acupuncture from you, but the real reason I come is to talk to you." And I thought, that's really interesting. Maybe there's something there for me. And at that point, I started to shift my practice more into coaching. And from there, it's been nothing but more coaching. And now I primarily work with men because, as I know as a man, I hate to ask for help, and yet I need it because nothing great happens without getting help.
Nice. Love that. And it's so true, because I find that so many people are just sitting there, on their computer doing their thing and going, I know I should know this. And some of them are like, I do know this, but then they end up not doing said thing that they know they should be doing, but they're not. They don't know how to kind of either overcome it, get over it, whatever the case is. As I said to somebody this morning, it's like watching people tread water, and they're like, okay, just hold on, I just need to finish treading this water and then I'll be right there. It's like, and then they continue treading the water. And it's like, yeah, just bring the boat back in about a month or so and I'll be done treading, and then I'll be ready to get in the boat and make it easier.
100%. I mean, that analogy is so right on. And I wish I could say that I never fell prey to that. I absolutely do. And what I do know is every time I ask for the right type of help and that I get it, I say to myself, holy crap, why didn't I do this earlier? Every single time. And it's about making those investments, time investments, financial investments, whatever kind of investments in order to make it happen. I mean, a funny story is about, I've had many assistants, and about a year ago, I hired a new assistant, and she wasn't the most qualified, but she was the smartest one I could find and the most ambitious. And I wanted someone who was very entrepreneurial. And I hired her. And soon after I hired her, I realized she's a lot more competent at most things than I am. I'm really good at about 2 or 3 things, but most all this other stuff around business, she's way better. And so I just said, you do it. You do it all. You control it. You manage me. You tell me what to do. And so now she every day tells me, hey, this is what you have going on. This is where you need to focus. Here's our marketing plan. And I just go and I do it. And it's created so much freedom for me to be able to do what I do best.
Nice. I love that. We all need to be able to find one of those. But I will get into some of the ways that you might be able to find one of those. But before we do, I don't want to leave this billionaire conversation. That just sounds fantastic. And I'm sure somebody out there with a Bitcoin wallet that lost it, and they might find it one day, might be that lost
Oh
billionaire.
God, yes, exactly.
But what's your lost
If
billionaire?
only.
Exactly.
Well, so I was doing e-commerce in the early days, and I remember competing with Zappos. And if people may know, but Zappos got acquired by Amazon. Tony Hsieh, who was, unfortunately died very tragically, but he was the CEO of Zappos and really turned it into an incredible company. He actually was not the first CEO. There was another CEO at the time, and Zappos was in San Francisco. My business partner and I were up in Sonoma County, and we were competing with them, and we were absolutely crushing Zappos. Our website was better. We had built our whole back end, and they were just this like horrible website. Well, what I didn't know at the time was that they had gotten a $10 million round, a $25 million round, and we were growing by leaps and bounds. But for some reason, and this is a mindset issue, this is the real lesson, I didn't think anybody would invest in me. I was like, nobody's going to invest in me and us. Why would they do that? I'm just this dinky little business, with $5 million in revenue, which I now know was a huge amount of traction at the time. No, it had no idea. Had no idea what I had. And so I missed that whole .com. That was during the .com bubble, basically at that point. And I missed that whole thing. And what was funny is my former business partner is also an executive coach. And he called me a couple of years ago. He's like, dude, you're not going to believe what happened. I said, what? He said, remember Zappos? Remember those guys we were competing with? I'm like, yeah, of course. He's like, well, I met the CEO the former CEO, the guy's a billionaire, and like, we missed the boat, bro. And I said, yeah, we did.
Oh,
So
oh.
it's fairly far away, but it's a funny story and a really good lesson about understanding what your potential is, and the fact that I didn't know what it is, and most of the time we have no idea about the value that we're bringing to the table.
Oh, absolutely. So lesson learned, if you would have done something differently, what would it have been?
I think at that point, I would have gone and started asking questions, because I knew people, but I was convinced that they wouldn't be interested in what I had.
Mhm.
And I would have just started asking questions like, hey, who are the people that are doing this? What are investors looking for? What do you think the potential is of my business? Very basic questions. I wouldn't have had to like, oh, raise a bunch of money. Maybe that's what would have happened, or maybe not. I don't know. But the fact is that I didn't even give myself the opportunity of finding out. And that comes through just simply, what are the questions that you are asking yourself? And I ask myself this all the time, and I ask this to my clients. I say, what's the most important question that you could be asking yourself right now? And what's the most important question you could be asking yourself around your business? What's the most important question you could be asking yourself about your relationships? What's the most important question you could be asking yourself about your life? And then when you get a question, like an important question, you can ask yourself, well, what might be an even better question? And that series of inquiry leads to incredible things. Like, I now have this list where I just write down business ideas, great business ideas, because I know that I will not execute on 99.999% of them, but nonetheless, it keeps me in the flow of saying, oh my God, here's another huge business idea. Here's another huge business idea, and keeps me in touch with what my potential is.
Nice. I love that. So would you recommend, when people are looking to build their, say, $1 million business, just because that seems to be the going trend,
The thing.
the thing to do, you got to do it.
Yeah.
Do you start with the end in mind? Do you start with your passions? Do you start with, what do you start with?
God, I love to start with the end in mind, but the truth is I never do it. And I really like goals. I really like habits and all that. But
Mhm.
I think the most important thing is to find something that interests you. I don't know that it has to be your quote passion, but it has to be interesting to you. And once it's interesting to you, dive in. Like, start researching it. Hey, maybe it's NFTs and cryptocurrency. Maybe it's organic food. Maybe it's food delivery. Maybe it's coaching and consulting. Maybe it's podcasting. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always more opportunity. And so what I like to do is I like to say, all right, start with your interests. Find something that you want to learn more about, and then start going and talking to as many people as you possibly can. So I have a client who's been in the tech industry for a long time, one of my few female clients, and she is a trained chef, and she's incredibly skilled. She teaches people chefing skills. And she got caught up in this whole thing of sending me YouTube videos of all these competitors and how she needed to be on YouTube and create this big social media thing and yada, yada, yada. And I said, wait a minute, who are the people who are going to be buying from you? Who are the people who are going to be signing up for your classes? I said, people like me, people who know you and like you. And so start talking to people like me, asking us, what is it that you want? What do you think of this idea? What do you think of that idea? Start talking with your potential customers once you found something that interests you. And I guarantee you, if you talk to 50 people, you will have a business. And most likely you'll have a business if you talk to 20 people. And that, I think, is the untold secret, is everybody's spending so much time on social media trying to do this and that and pay for ads. And go talk to 20 people, you'll have a business.
What? Like real people?
Real, actual people. And
Like
guess what?
You can hear?
Yeah, I know. These people are in your network. You already know them. It's like every one of us, the 6 degrees of separation thing, every one of us knows somebody who knows somebody. And we forget that in today's network world. Like, if you can pick up the phone and say, hey, Michelle, you know, I recently started a men's group for entrepreneurs, and they're having a lot of success, and it's really cool. Do you know, what kind of guys do you know that might be interested in joining a group of entrepreneurs that works like a mastermind and has a lot of support and helps keep people accountable? Who do you know? And you'll probably think of somebody.
Nice. Love that. That is
Yeah.
awesome. So we have something of interest to us. We're talking to people that might be interested. We're asking the right questions of who they know, what they know, and some of them may be informing us. So some people might be going, hey, when you find out, let me know, which is awesome. We're going to create the business that way. What are some of the things that we can do to ensure our success or keep us going? Because God knows there's going to be that lull of 10 people that just happen to not be interested, or the market drops, or something's going to happen.
Yeah, well, there's a business cycle, and it starts off with uninformed optimism. So we're starting our business. Oh, this is the greatest idea. I've talked to my people. They want, bone broth delivered to their house. This is going to be awesome, right? And so we start off with that uninformed optimism. And then as we dive in, we realize, oh my God, there's tons of competitors. My costs are higher than I thought. It's a lot of work making bone broth. And we get into the place of informed pessimism. And that's sort of the dark night of the soul of business, where we think, what the hell did I quit my great paying job for, where I got to go to 9 to 5 and had my 2 weeks of paid vacation and all of that stuff. And we question ourselves. And, believe me, I've been through this countless times. Am I delivering any value? I'm just an imposter, right? We get into that imposter syndrome. And then we start to get into a point of, once we go through that trough, we start to come out of it again. And we realize, okay, if I really focus on one particular thing or two things and really serving people well, I might have something here. And we sort of find that needle in the haystack, and we get to the point where we start to become optimistic again. And we realize, though, that it's a lot different than that uninformed optimism. This is informed optimism. This is based on our experience. This is based on what we found. And so this cycle repeats itself every time we start a new initiative, a new project, a new marketing plan, whatever it is. We start off with this uninformed optimism. We go in, we have informed pessimism, and then when we come out on the other side to informed optimism. And the most important thing at that bottom point is to realize this is a natural part of the cycle, and there's nothing wrong with me. And I better get good at this, because if I'm going to be successful in business, this is going to happen to me over and over and over again. And I'm constantly going to feel like an imposter. Hey, great. That means you're on the right track.
Awesome. Love that. So when we're in that informed pessimism, we're looking for ways out. We're going to find those one or two things that we're doing right. I'm loving this, because you got the whole thing just lined right up. This is perfect. So then what are we doing on a daily basis to ensure that we're working towards that informed optimism and not just delirium and and going, I can do this, I know I can, for too long?
Yeah, that is a great question. One I've struggled with, certainly. And it's a daily challenge for me, but I am really, really big into habits and making sure that I have daily habits that keep me grounded and focused. And what I do every morning is I have a morning routine. I call it a morning rhythm. And sometimes it may only take me 15 minutes. Sometimes it may take me an hour. But the point is I start my day, I center myself, I do a little bit of meditation, I drink my water, and I sit down with my paper planner and I look and see what I have going on for the day. And I go and I plan out my day. And I have the 1, 2, or 3 things that if I move forward on will make a difference. And you ask the question, well, how do you know that you're not just spinning your wheels? And the honest answer is we don't always know. We don't always know, but that's where the calibration comes into effect, where at the end of the day, did I do what I said I was going to do? Did I actually make progress? What happened? Do I feel, and this is one of the most important questions that people miss, do I feel like I am energized from what I did, or do I feel depleted from what I did? And my belief is that if you feel energized from what you did, you're on the right track. Because what does energy do? Energy creates momentum. Momentum creates more energy versus depletion. If you're always feeling depleted, once that dark night of the business soul comes around, there's no reason to continue. And so again, daily habits, figure out what your habits are. If people want to find out more about habits, they can go to my website, and I have a page set up, Business Owners Podcast. So it's jonahlarkin.com/business owners podcast for your listeners. And you can download all my focus checklists and all the stuff that I use, all the brain hacks that I use, how to do a morning routine, how to do one really efficiently, and all the mental maps that I use personally in order to keep myself focused and productive. And it works for me, it works for my students and my clients, and give it a shot. It doesn't have to be big, but it has to feel energizing and uplifting. And that's, I believe, one of the most important things. I mean, what about you? You love what you do, I can tell.
I do love what I do. I do love podcasts, and quite frankly, if I could do this all day and nothing else, I'd be perfectly happy doing that. It's like I get to meet people, I get to find out all about them, we get to ask real fun questions of them, they find out interesting things. I mean, my life could not be better than that. Truly.
Yeah, and I can tell, because it's so nice just like being here with you, having a conversation. I can tell that you love it, and so it's like, hey, this is like great for you, and it's good for your business, and you get to learn a lot, and best of all, you're delivering value to people, which, oh my God, you're making a contribution.
Excellent. Now I can go and sell my Bitcoins and just do this all the time. It'll be perfect.
Yeah. Don't sell them yet.
Exactly. Not today. That's okay. So and I love all of that. And I find that when people are doing things and things are going well, ironically, that tends to be when they quit their habits. So that was working so well for me that I quit. So how do they keep going when it's working?
That you're so right. So right. I've made that mistake so many times.
Right?
Yeah. It's like, oh, everything's going right, I don't need to meditate anymore. I'm not gonna do the hard work because I've got to serve my clients and grow my business and all that stuff. And this is where a support and accountability system comes into play. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're doing, so many people now are out on their own, doing their own business, myself included. But if you don't have a support system, a group of people that you are meeting with on a regular basis, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. And the reason why I say this is because our behavior reflects our environment and the community we're in. So if if every morning my friend comes by and says, "Hey Jonah, let's go surfing," I'm going to go surfing 10 times more than if I'm like, okay, I got to get out of bed and go do it all by myself, or working out, or doing marketing, or whatever it is. For me, a big challenge for me has been just really focusing on managing my finances and managing my sales projections and all that stuff, and really staying up on that. It's been a huge challenge for me. And I have this thing called Finance Friday, where every Friday I go and I spend 2 hours going over all my budgets and my finances and my investments and all that stuff. And then I have an accountability partner, and I've got a money coach who I work with. And so that's my support system. And I meet with them on a regular basis. And that keeps me focused. Hey, did you do your Finance Friday? No, I didn't do my Finance Friday. Why not? Well, I was traveling, and I told myself I'd do it on Saturday. Did you do it on Saturday? No, I didn't. Oh, it's like, does that mean I quit and give up? No, it doesn't. It means I get to learn from it and set up systems so that I continue to do my Finance Friday, because when I do my Finance Friday, guess what happens? More money. And when I don't do my Finance Friday, what happens? Less money. Pretty dang simple. And so it's very important to have a support system, an accountability partner, a mastermind, whatever it is. Get yourself into a community. And that's why I have a men's group of entrepreneurs, because we know that we need it. We need it.
Right.
I'm less accountable to myself. I'm much more accountable if you're holding me accountable.
Totally makes sense. So what kind of people do you love to work with the most?
Yeah, I love to work with men who are building businesses. And the reason why, look, I love all people. It's really fun to work with everybody. But the reason why I love to work with men primarily is because I know, as a guy, the way that I grew up, my story is I'm supposed to be competent, I'm supposed to be confident, I'm supposed to know what I'm doing, I'm supposed to be assertive, I'm supposed to be courageous, and all these things, right? And I read all these articles about these great entrepreneurs, and I compare myself, and then I think, God, I just don't measure up.
I'm going back to bed. That was like work.
Yeah, exactly. And
No kidding.
so as a man, there's a lot of pressure to show up in a certain way. And what I find is that most men don't have a confidant that they can talk to, that they can share their imposter syndrome with, their insecurities with, their frustrations with, all the things that are going wrong. It's like, as a man, I can't show up and, like, if I'm managing a team, I can't be complaining to my team. Like, that's not good. If I go home, I can't go and complain to my family. They don't want to hear that. They want the energy that they want. So where am I supposed to go where I can be vulnerable, where I can express anger, where I can express my frustrations, where I can boast a little bit and brag? Like, where can I do that? Well, I can do that in the presence of other men who can hold me in a very kind way, and where I don't feel judged, where I don't feel shamed, where you can show up and be vulnerable and be safe, and then get the help you need and get the accountability you need, so that when you're there, you're held to your highest values. All of us have values, right? Whatever they are. maybe it's health, maybe it's financial security, maybe it's your family, maybe it's religion. It doesn't matter what it is. The point is are you living in alignment with your values? And inevitably, we all fall off that path of like, oh my God, I say that I want to be healthy, yet I completely quit working out because I'm so damn busy. Well, you're not living in alignment with your values. Okay, cool. Recognize that. No shame in that. The question is, do you want to get back on the horse or do you want to change your values? No pressure. You decide. But the point is, are you doing it consciously and are you doing it intentionally? And so that's a long answer, I guess.
That's an awesome answer. So my brain is going two different directions and I'm wondering where I want to take it most. So I'm going to take you where I want to take you because that's just fun. So say somebody does that and they're like, yep, totally want to get back on the fitness track. And I'm assuming I'm not the only one, but let's talk about me. If you happen to relate while you're listening to this, it's awesome, but this is for me right now. So I have noticed during this whole COVID thing that we have, as a society, have gone from a 9-to-5 work environment to a, whenever I think of something, I'm going to go and text you and go, hey, can you do this? This needs to be done now. I just thought about it. I don't know where that came from, but I have noticed in myself that setting boundaries has been of the utmost difficulty for me, which is really kind of funny because I'm usually the kind of person that just goes, okay, we're done. This is stopped. And now I go and do something else. But I'm finding that I want to help people because I know that that thing needs to get done and they should have thought about it earlier, but they didn't. So, you know, okay, off we go. And here I am doing 12-hour days and I wouldn't have, swear to God, would have said, anybody can get me to do a 6-hour day, they're pushing their limits. And lo and behold, and here we are. So in this circumstance, what kind of things would you suggest to me to start getting back into? And what you don't know about me is that I was actually a bodybuilder once. So I was competing.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was awesome.
Amazing.
And it was fun. I loved it. I wasn't top ranking or anything, but I just got into it. So I was a newbie. And then life just kind of took on its own little train wreck. So in that realm.
Yeah. Well, I guess, so first off, like, I would just say, give yourself full permission to work 12-hour days and not set any boundaries. Let's just start there. Like, awesome. Give yourself full permission and maybe realize that you're making this choice, right? You're deciding to do it. Nobody else is deciding for you. And you're doing that. And so first off, just can you create a little bit of grace for yourself and just forgive yourself for, like, we're in a difficult situation. A lot of stuff has happened in the last 2 years and you're not the only one with that challenge. So let's like start there as a baseline. And then I would just ask you, well, what is it that you do want?
I would love to get back into bodybuilding. That's
okay. I'd love to get back into bodybuilding. Cool. What does that mean to you? Like, does that mean working out every day? How does that look?
Yep, that would mean taking about an hour and a half in the middle of the day and just going and working out, because that's when I'm most capable of standing and walking and talking at the same time without hurting myself.
Great.
I've tried it in the morning. I have tried it at night.
Right.
Noonish is kind of when I get to function.
Right. Okay. So then I might ask you, what's getting in the way? And I'm not asking what's getting in the way in terms of like, oh, I'm just too busy, and like literally what's stopping you from getting in your car and driving to the gym?
Literally all I have to do is put on my runners and walk out the door. So,
okay.
Like, I don't even have to go anywhere. But what's stopping me from doing it is me feeling that whatever alligators are going on in that moment are more important. So I even have it in my calendar to go and stop. And then when 12 o'clock comes, it's like, oh shit, we need this. I go and do it.
Right. Do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you've decided you want to do bodybuilding. You've put a thing in your calendar, but when it comes along, you're like, it's like out the window.
Like 1 out of
To
7.
1 out of 7. I totally know what that's like. So the first thing I would say is, can you find someone to do it with? That would be the first thing. Can you find a friend? If you can't find a friend, are you willing to pay for somebody to meet you on Zoom or whatever and check in on your workout or work out with you, or a coach? Like, are you willing to invest in yourself? Because just like you, like, I don't like to follow my schedule unless my assistant is like, hey, did you do that? Hey, you've got this coming up. Are you going to do it? Otherwise, I'm like, I got plenty of time for that. I'm not going to follow my schedule. So I depend on her to keep me accountable. So can you find somebody to help you keep accountable? Like, if you're meeting a friend to work out, even if it's on Zoom, and you know you have that appointment, even if you have those alligators snapping at your heels, aren't you more
For
likely to
sure.
go and work out?
Yeah, absolutely. And be like, no, sorry, I got a meeting. Off we
Yeah.
go.
So who do you know who might serve that role? Can you think of anyone right now?
Nice. I can actually. Yep.
Okay, cool. So you have someone in mind.
Hmm.
Okay, so right after our podcast, can you text them?
Exactly. Like, dude, I got this awesome
Yeah,
idea, and I know you're up for it because I know he does nothing all day except for whatever the hell he wants. So
right,
you're like, sure.
right. So that's probably the most important, is to find that person to do the thing with. And then secondly, you have a home gym, or where
I
do you
have
work out?
recently moved, so my home gym is in pieces, so I could use my home gym as a home gym to put together, which would
Okay.
still be a workout.
So where
So
do you
yes,
have to go now?
downstairs,
Downstairs?
really.
Okay. So is your
Now,
home
could I
gym put
go to?
together though?
No,
Like,
it's
could
not.
you?
That's what I'm
Oh,
saying
it's
is
not.
if putting it together would be a workout in itself, and then it would be
Oh,
together, and then I would
okay. Oh, so okay. So the next step is to put the home gym together.
together. Exactly.
Got it. Okay. So you need to get your friends. So that's what we call an obstacle, a roadblock in the way. It's kind of like if I'm going to go for a run in the morning, and if I put my workout clothes right by my bed, so as soon as I get on out of bed, I put on my workout clothes, I'm a lot more likely to go on my run than if I stumble into the kitchen and start to make my tea and check my cryptocurrencies and see what's going on. Pretty soon I'm like, I got to be at a meeting in a half an hour. I don't have enough time to go for a run. So you got to figure out all the roadblocks.
And setting
So
yourself up for success.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And then you want to stack it on top of another behavior. So if you want to work out, what time you want to work out? Like 12:30, 1 o'clock? You
Yeah,
said
noon.
lunch?
Noon.
Noon. Okay, noon. So what are you doing usually at 11:45?
In a meeting.
You're in a meeting. Okay, cool. So after after a meeting at 11:45, can you do something to break up what it is that you're doing? You're like, okay, at 11:45, after I get out of my 11:45 meeting, the one right before noon, what I do is I go for a walk around the block. I walk downstairs and I go for a walk around the block, and I ask myself, do I want to go work out, or do I want to get stressed about this next thing that I have to do? And again, you get to decide. But because we're intentional beings, when we set intentions and we give ourselves enough space to have some time to think about it, we're much more likely to do it. And we have to set up these automatic things that we do. Otherwise, yeah, our lizard brain will just be like, oh my God, I got to deal with that. Oh my God, I got to deal with that. And pretty soon we've forgotten our workout. We haven't meditated. We've forgotten to eat. We've drank 18 cups of coffee. We're like way down the rabbit hole, and it's like way too late. So decide what you want to do, stack it on top of another behavior, remove obstacles, and get an accountability partner. That's the 4-step process that will have you doing the right thing. But you actually have to take a little bit of time to figure out what that process is.
Nice. I love that. So give us an example of a Cinderella story of one of your clients.
Of one of these clients? Okay, great. Yeah. So I have a client who has a very, very cool business. And without getting into too many details, because I don't want to disclose who this client it's basically an emergency services medical business for high net worth individuals. Really cool. And he not only had completely burned himself out, but got in an accident and had a brain injury. And he had been pushing himself so hard. He had thought to himself, if I don't slow down, this thing's going to kill me. And guess what? It almost killed him. And so he rehabbed, he did his whole thing, and he got back to his business. And guess what? He started doing the same thing, the same damn thing. And he was thinking to myself, what am I doing? This is absolutely crazy. And I met him because he took one of my classes. I have a class called the Morning Rhythm Reset, which is a 30-day class about how to create a morning rhythm that works for you. And so he started doing that. And anywhere from a 5-minute one to an hour one, it depended on what he had going on that day. But really the only difference between what he did then and what he did before was wake up in the morning, set an intention, and focus on what he wanted instead of what he didn't want, and have a couple minutes of meditation, and then he'd go about his day. Well, what's happened since then? That was about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. His business is completely transformed. He was involved in 4 businesses. Now he has one business. He's focused on his one business. He's growing it like crazy. He's bringing in a COO, and he's doing what it is that he does best. He invents things and he creates new business opportunities. That's what he does. He's great at it. But he was off like trying to figure out the books and trying to manage all these employees and setting up all these, back end lab infrastructure deals and doing stuff that made absolutely no sense for him to do. And there were people who could do it better and wanted to do it. And so he basically went from working 60 hours a week, and now he's probably working about 35 hours a week. And he paid off his house in January. He told me, yeah, I want to pay off my house by the end of the year. And he paid it off by June. And he's in a much better position. Are all his problems solved? No, of course not, because there's always new problems. More business, more problems. Exactly. But the point is he knows now what works for him, and that's about taking that time to just calibrate, to review, to actually take time out from your business to think about it. One of my mentors, I remember, I said, God, I'm just completely overwhelmed. He's like, what does your think time look like? I'm like, what? He's like, think time. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, you need to have a couple hours of time to just think about your business where there's no pressure. Like, put it on your schedule. Go for a walk every Friday afternoon. Think about your business. Think about your life. Is it working for you? And focus on what you want. Like, think about what it is that you want, not what you don't want. So many people, I don't want this, I don't want that. If you focus on things you don't want, that's what shows up. So focus on what you want. And that brilliant supercomputer in your brain that can process 2 trillion, what is it? It's about 2 trillion bits. No, I'm sorry, 40 million bits per second essentially a supercomputer, will start to figure out how it works, but you got to give yourself the space to do it.
Nice. Love that. So what might some stumbling blocks be that somebody has when they're at home right now thinking, oh my God, Jonah, I need you so bad?
What are the stumbling blocks? Well, first, it's just actually like asking for help, whether it's saying, you know what, I'm scared that like I want to call Michelle, I need help with my business, but I'm afraid she charges too much, right? You know what, it doesn't matter. Just make the phone call. I'm sure you go and do like 15 or 20 or 30-minute calls for people, whatever it is. I do the same thing. Like, if it's not Michelle, if it's not Jonah, who is it that you know that can help you? Like, take one very, very, very small step. Ask for help. Like, just please, just do that, because someone else can see what your blind spots are. I can't see my own blind spots, but if I talk to you enough, you're going to be like, hey, Jonah, did you ever think of, and I'm like, yeah, I thought of it like 3 years ago, but then I forgot about it. And now you're reminding me to do it again.
Exactly.
You know, what's one small step you can take? And then the other thing to realize that people do is a huge mistake that people make, is that we make really low impact decisions very easily. So it's like, oh yeah, what am I going to have for breakfast? I'm going to have pancakes today. Oh, what am I going to, what kind, you know, who do I want to talk to? Like, what movie do I want to see? These are small decisions, but big decisions that make big impacts on our lives, we make them really slowly. Who we're going to marry, what kind of business we want to start, all of that stuff. But if you can make really impactful decisions really quickly, your business will move by leaps and bounds. And so if it's like investing $10,000 to work with somebody who's actually going to help you, and be careful out there, there's a lot of people who are selling really expensive programs that, in my opinion, don't deliver a ton of value, but be careful. But don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Like, who else are you going to invest in? Like, invest in yourself, but take the step, talk to somebody and ask for help. Like, that's the biggest stumbling block that I see people. Like you said, it goes back to your treading water analogy. I'm just going to be over here treading water, come back when I'm finished. It's like, yeah, let's see how that goes.
And just ask. You don't know how much anybody charges until you go and ask them.
That's right.
Awesome.
Maybe they'll negotiate with you. You never know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I know that our listeners are going to want more of you. So you mentioned your website to get a hold of you to start the journey.
Yep.
So at Jonah Larkin .com/
Business Owners Podcast.
So should be able to remember that one. And I was going to ask you, at what point in life did you know that you were especially kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur? But I'm pretty sure you already gave us that one.
Yeah, you know what? It was like, I was frustrated when I was a kid because my parents didn't have a lot of money. And so I was always thinking, like, how can I hustle to make some money? But yeah, entrepreneuring is definitely a little bit nuts. You have to be a glutton for punishment in certain ways. And again, like, ask for help, ask for help, ask for help.
Nice. So those are your last words, peeps. That's what you get from Jonah today. Go to his website, check him out, and go and see how successful you can become with just a little bit of help. This is Michelle Nedlick. Thank you for being with us here today. If you know anyone who would make a great guest for the show, or if you have a question or topic you'd like me to discuss, reach out to me at michelle@awarenessstrategies.com or connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to our show. I am all about being a resource center for entrepreneurs to give them the information and the support they need to make it in business. As such, I have Taking Your Business Digital Q&A every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Mountain. To register for that, go to awarenessstrategies.com/digital. That's DIGITAL. I look forward to meeting you and actually finding out how you are. So see you on the flip side.